Welcome back to this week's episode of Success in Women, the show about women helping women. And you can see, finally, my co-host Andrea is back with us, and I'm so excited to have her back. And I'm Linda B. But what we wanted to do is, because last week we talked about letting go, Andrea was watching the episode and thought she had a lot she wanted to add. And so we're going to continue on the conversation about letting go. So Andrea, what struck you with the show that you would like to share with the other women?
Well, finally, first of all, I want to say hi, everyone. I'm grateful to be back, feeling better. Missed you all. But yes, I was watching on Friday the episode about letting go, and I thought, wow, that was a great episode. Linda did a great job all by herself for the last 3 or 4 episodes. And I thought, wow, I wish I would have been part of that conversation, because it's so true. It's very hard to let go. And if you can't do that, it causes a lot of problems in your family, in your marriage, and work. And sometimes, you hang on to stuff and it just only hurts you. And I've had it in my family, and that's what I was thinking. How many times there have been issues with family members. And especially in the Italian world, we like to hold on to grudges. We like to be mad forever and not talk for years. And that never sat well with me. And so whenever there was an issue and I didn't know what was wrong, what was going on, didn't hear from somebody, I would just pick up the phone and I would call and I'd ask. And I think it shocked a lot of people when I would do that, because I didn't like having those things hanging over our heads. And so then I would call and we'd talk about it. And I remember, a few times the people would be like, well, I don't know, I'll think about it. I'm going, please, there's no point hanging on to this, because it's just upsetting a whole family for nothing. We'll talk about it and, let it go, move on. And eventually they did, and everything's great and it's been great. But I thought, how many people do that? And I mean, I still have some issues too with other family members that don't want to let go of certain things. But in the end, it's not worth it,
And I was going to ask you, Andrea, because you are the one that would normally pick up the phone and try to get it resolved, what do you do in a situation when you try calling, but they don't want to take your call? You leave a message. Maybe you try texting and you just get what they call the new term, ghosting. They ghost you and they don't want to deal with it. Whatever it is, and sometimes you might not even realize what the problem is. You didn't even realize it was a problem. But they're holding on to something and it's eating away at them. I know that we can go on with life, but you try to resolve to bring these people back in your life. What do you do when you just get ghosted? How do you deal with that, and how do you handle it?
Well, like I said, you could keep trying, or you just have to finally say, you know what, they obviously don't want me in their life, so I'll move on. And it has happened to me too. And I'm sad about it, but I don't let it affect my everyday life. And I always said, if this person comes to me at some date, I'm open. I'm very open. And I'll welcome them back with, open arms, whatever. Because as you get older, you realize those things don't matter. You miss more. I miss more in life. My friends from my past, like with Linda, we grew up together. We lost contact. I'm so happy to have you back in my life.
So am I.
Yeah, and because we have so many things in common to talk about. And that's what you miss. Like with my sisters, my brothers, we have so much in common to talk about that I can't talk to with the new friends that I've met. There are other things you can talk about. But as you get older, you seem to go back. You go back to those familiar things, and I don't want to lose that, and so that's why I try to reach out and I try to keep my family together, my husband's family together, and I would keep trying, but if I mean, we have a situation right now, not me personally, but in our family, that they just can't resolve the issue. And it's sad because, you know, it's hard on the mother, it's hard on the people around. You want to do parties or functions, but they won't be in the same room together. And you're like, oh my goodness, what is so bad that can't be resolved, can't be let go? You know, it's not worth it. It really isn't. And when you see people getting sick around you or dying, and you think to yourself, that's what's important. You know, not that somebody said something about my child that wasn't true. And well, just, you know, confront them. Or, you know what? I had another situation where somebody said something, or they told me that somebody said something, and I could have just gotten mad and not talked to the person. But again, I picked up the phone and I called that person and I said, is it true that you blah, blah, blah? What? I never said that. You know what I mean? So we talked about it. I talked to the other person, and then it got resolved and we're all fine and good about it. But you've got to deal with stuff and let it go and move on.
You know, and I guess it's easy as well to take some of these lessons and call up or walk over to somebody's desk that you're working with. If you think that there's something going on at the office and you feel like you're being either snubbed or people are talking behind your back, it's better to just confront the situation and say, listen, what's going on? Like, what have you heard, or what have I done to offend you? Because sometimes people will take offense, not with your intent that you meant it. It's just that they were sensitive to something, or they think they heard it in a wrong way. Yes. And misinterpreted what was even going on.
Right.
And if you don't address it right away, then it can go on and fester and fester. And the problem with not letting go is that, again, it eats away at you, but it prevents you from moving forward and enjoying life, or getting that promotion, or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. Letting go is one of the biggest things and the most difficult things for people to do, except that it gives you so much relief if you can let it go and move forward. All of a sudden, it's like, wow, life is good again.
Life is good again, yes.
And you know, I have a friend right now, and this was one of her very, very, very best friends, that they did everything together. They traveled together. They were both widowed. They're both, you know, on their own, growing kids, everything else. And they did a lot together. And something happened, and my friend said that her friend just stopped talking to her. Like, literally, after like more than 30 years of being very close. And my friend didn't drive, so my friend would go and pick her up. They did everything together. And like I said, they were traveling at least twice a year, taking holidays. And her friend just stopped talking to her. And she said, you know, if she called me today, I wouldn't even want to talk to her. And I'm like, why? Yeah. Why can't you just let it go, whatever her problem was, that she stopped talking to you?
Find out what the problem was.
Well,
First
she
of
knows
all, she knows.
She thinks she knows what the problem is.
She thinks she knows.
Yeah, she thinks she knows what the problem is. But you know, everybody deals with personal situations and tragedies differently. And at the time, there was a personal tragedy that happened. And all of a sudden, she just kind of cut out a lot of people out of her life. Oh. And they didn't, I guess, fit the mold of what this tragedy the people should have done. And in my friend's case, she felt that her friend stopped talking to her because she didn't go to a funeral of, you know, a family member. And my friend is not good at funeral homes. Right. She's not good on death. And I understand it completely, because I am the worst. I'm a basket case when it comes to anybody dying. I know that we live and I know that we die, but I have a hard time accepting the death. And, you know, I've lost people very close to me, and it's very difficult for me to deal with. But anyway, in my friend's case, she didn't go to the funeral, but her friend knew that about her, that she's not good around death, and just couldn't be there, but would support her in any other way. And
Right.
after the funeral, she was there for her. Anything she said, you need, you just let me know.
Right.
And she thinks that that's the reason that her friend stopped talking to her, because it coincided with the fact that
With
she
the
didn't,
timing.
with the timing of not
And
going
now
to the
isn't
funeral.
that silly? You know,
All those
because
years.
there's a lot of things people can't do, you know, and you shouldn't. Maybe there's something that you have a problem with, and you would hope that your friends could understand. You know, I think that's very silly to lose a 30-year friendship over something like that. Because, like you say, the woman knew and she expressed to her that she would help in any other way.
Yeah.
So let that go and move on. Because the funeral, it's one day.
Yeah.
You need the support before and after more than you need that day, because the
Yeah.
day of the funeral you have a lot of friends, family, people. And I always say that because we've had a few deaths. It's the weeks after, when everybody leaves, everybody goes home, everybody goes back to their job, and then you're alone.
Yeah.
Then you need your closest people to support you.
And, you know, when you think about that, like when she does think of her friend, and I know she thinks about her because she had this friendship for so long, that I think that it was one of those things that she misses, but she won't reach out anymore. And so, and her friend has never picked up the phone either. But she says, I worry more about my friend, because she said, I have a full life.
Right.
And she knows that her friend without her didn't do a whole lot.
Oh.
And because of that, I'm thinking, well, why don't you pick up the phone and just call,
Right.
see how she's doing? But she's not letting it go, but she said it's not eating away at her. I don't know if that's true, because she brings it up on a regular basis. I
Exactly.
know she's missing that friend.
Yeah.
They did so much. They were like
For
sisters
sure,
together.
for sure.
And she might not think that it's affecting her, but it is. And so when you think about not letting go, then you've lost something in your life that could prevent you from being even happier. If you think that you are happy, wow, can you imagine if this got resolved, this friendship that you've had for so long? Again, Andrea and I didn't have a falling out when we lost contact, is because we took two different paths after we left school, got married. She moved to another city. I was still back in the city that, you know, we grew up in. And so we just lost contact. And, you know, we had different paths to fulfill.
That's
and
right.
then the universe kind of brought us back together. And, you know, we talked about this before about our mothers, because our mothers had always stayed in contact because they were best friends. And so when the timing was right, we were able to reconnect. But not because we had anything going on. But we could have said, oh, well, if she couldn't bother with me, you know, when she got married, then like to hell with her. I'm not going to even talk to her. Like, why?
Yeah. Well,
You know.
and you know, funny enough, I have a friend that we were really good friends, and before I had kids, and then I started having children, and unfortunately she couldn't have any, and then she had a divorce, and then she remarried, but I hadn't heard from her in a while, and I was raising 3 kids, small kids. She was still working, and I hadn't heard from her in a while, but, you know, I'd think about her, and then something would come up with the kids. And, you know, I was so busy with the dance world and everything. And then out of the blue one day, she calls me. I go, oh, my God, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. I haven't heard from you. She says, well, tell you the truth, I was very upset with you because you never take the time to call me. And I was complaining with my mother, and my mother looked at me and said, are you kidding me? She says, you don't have 3 children running around. You don't have to worry about this and about that. You pick up the phone and you call her. And she said, it just clicked, you know. She said, yeah, how stupid am I? And she picked up the phone and we talked. I said, you know, I'm so sorry. I think about you all the time, but every time I want to pick up the phone, the kids are doing this or running here, or I got to run here. I said, I'm sorry if I upset you, but that was it. We both let it go, and we're still great friends. And funny enough, in her late 40s, she had twins.
Oh, my goodness.
And then she phoned one day and said, now I know. So that's what I mean. Put yourself in other people's shoes. Think about it.
Yes, that's a really good way to put it. Put yourself in somebody else's shoes, because you really don't know. Even though Andrea and I hadn't spoken probably for 30 years, I always used to think about it, and I never felt like we were apart, even though I never picked up the phone. My life was different.
Yeah.
Her life was different.
Right.
And that was fine. I didn't have...
And then all of a sudden, we were the same.
Exactly.
Because my kids were all gone and grown, and you were alone.
Yep.
And we kind of hooked up, and the Florida thing brought us together.
It did, but it reconnected us. We got along as children, and we got along now as adults. And so it's really nice that we can even do this thing together.
Well, because we both love to talk.
Well, we do. But I don't know if that was your mother a talker? Because I know my mother.
No, my mother wasn't, but your mother was.
My mother was.
Yeah. So my mother would listen, and your mother, but they both like to go and party.
Yeah. So anyway, we're both talkers, and we both want to share, again, the things that we've learned along the way, and some of the things that we've picked up that would be valuable for somebody else. One little thing that makes a difference at all. And letting go and putting yourself, like Andrea said, in the other person's shoe. When you do that, you're going to realize that so many great things can happen, because you make all these assumptions in your head, and most of the time it's not true.
Yeah, it's not reality, because
it's not reality.
Yeah, you just you make things bigger in your mind. A little problem all of a sudden becomes this big thing, and the more you talk about it and complain about it, it gets bigger and bigger. Well, before that happens, stop it. Get to the root of it. Phone, call, pick up the phone, go, even message somebody. Hey, hi, haven't heard from you in a while, and see how they respond. Because a lot of people are afraid because if they call and the person says, I don't want to talk to you, blah, blah, and bang, they're afraid to get that rejection.
Yes.
But most of the time it's not. The person, unless it's something really bad, but most things, if you handle it properly and don't pick up the phone and say, hey, what's your problem? No. Just call and say, hey, I feel like there's something wrong here. Can we talk about it? Are you upset with me? That's how I handled both of my situations.
Well, especially if you haven't talked to somebody in a couple of years, right? Then you got to think, maybe there is a problem. But we all end up having this fear. And when you understand what fear means, it's false evidence appearing real.
Right.
Because it does. So we get fearful. We don't want to make that call. We don't want to take the rejection. And in most cases, like you said, it's not even that. Somebody had to make the first move.
That's right.
But once you've cleared the air...
Pride gets in the way.
That is. Pride does get in the way.
Yeah.
And you know what? Be the bigger person.
Absolutely.
Because one of the things about one of my sisters, I have two sisters, and one of my sisters, if she didn't hear from somebody, she said, well, I'm not calling. I'm always the one calling, like your friend who felt rejected because Andrea didn't pick up the phone. Having 3 kids, it was a handful. She's thinking that, well, Andrea can't be bothered with me. I'm not going to call her. My sister has always lived by that rule. And because of that, she doesn't have a lot of close friends. And I always say, does it matter who makes the first move? If that person, when you're calling them, is happy and receives you well, in the sense that you've made the call, like Andrea was, you were all excited when that person finally called you.
Yeah.
Because you think about them, but you can't seem to find the time. And at that time that they called, you got to, yes, great, it's nice to hear from you.
And back then we didn't have social media. I couldn't just message. It was pick up the phone and take a half an hour to talk, which I didn't have that time.
Yeah.
Right.
But you made it happen when she called. And you were very welcoming.
Oh, yes. I was so happy.
So she realized that Andrea wasn't rejecting her. She wasn't avoiding her. She was just too busy. And my sister, who does not have children, she just thinks that the other person should always make the first move.
Yeah.
And so she thinks that if she's calling all the time, it's because they don't want to have a relationship with her.
Right.
And that's not always the case. Sometimes people just have busy lives.
Yeah.
And so if you let go of all of that, you take the step, you make the call, or you text, or you do the social media instant messaging, whatever it is that you need, I'm sure you're going to start feeling so much better, because so many things would get resolved.
Absolutely.
then all of a sudden life, like we talked about, it just gets better. Because you can let things go from your own self. That means that you find more peace and more joy with everything else around you.
Exactly.
And again, it goes back to having gratitude then.
Yes.
For everything, the health, the friendships, the families, everything. And so what else is there, ladies? We want you to be success in your personal life, but if you can take any of these lessons into your work lives, then you know what? Sometimes you have to take that first step. Make the move.
Make the move.
So, this is Andrea. And
She forgot who I was already.
no, I was going to say I'm Linda, but Andrea can say,
And I'm Andrea.
Yeah.
Happy to be back.
yes. And we're glad to see you again. So don't forget to
Like
share.
and subscribe.
Most importantly, we need the subscribers, okay?
I'm counting those thousands, you know.
That's
girls.
right. That's right. We have a big goal. And now that Andrea's back, hopefully it'll raise the bar. You'll start to do this, share, like, and subscribe more. And, well, we'll reach a goal with your help, and we hope to help you reach your
Exactly.
goals.
Yes.
So until next week, we'll see you later.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.